At what point in writing a script did you decide you're going to do the perspective, the character perspective is the way you're going to shoot and direct the story?
Yeah, right away. It was the first idea that came to mind. And I kind of credit my co-writing partner, who at this time wasn't even writing with me, for not shooting down the idea. Because I read the book, she reads the book, and I'm like, I'm thinking, like, POV would be really cool, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, oh, interesting. And we kept going as opposed to being like, that's a strange thing, which would have consequences I couldn't even predict. So shout out Jocelyn Barnes.
So the first challenge is with your DP, Jomo Frey, wonderful job. How did you guys create the visual language to pull this off? Because this is a major technology shift. There's a lot of different style. What was the process working with him to kind of establish your own production rules?
Yeah. Well, I think I was lucky to have essentially done an early version of this in the first film that I made, How County This Morning This Evening. So I came in with like very, relatively strict rules, like, long lens, shallow focus, camera as an extension of consciousness. And then I think having a really rigid entry point allows for the idea to get nuanced and for it to get to the point where the camera's actually like feeling something, it's like touching something. And leave it to Jomo to basically invent rigs that can handle 6K camera with as close to the body to move like the human head, and figuring out how to light scenes in the way in which we could get that emotional resonance. Yeah, the collaboration, you couldn't have asked for more from him.
I think it really paid off because we're not a spectator. The audience is not a spectator in this movie. We actually feel like we're feeling what the characters are feeling, especially in the White House scene, the torture scene.
Yeah.
How did you want the audience to feel and experience? Because we didn't see a lot, but we felt every moment of the boys being tortured.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. We wanted them to, the audience, who is the character, to just be in a space of both reflection and experience, where you're kind of having a meta-consciousness when you're going through trauma, but you're also abstracted. And that like strange constellation of things is psychologically rich, right? Like that's just something human beings, it's a coping mechanism. So we wanted to just toy with some of those ideas and not do the easy thing, which is just show you what happened as if that's the worst part. Mostly it's what happens after, the rest of the consequences of it.
Now, my final question, my favorite scene is Hattie's scene when she gets rejected from seeing Elwood and devastated, but she sees that Turner's in pain and hugs him.
Yeah.
Still able to, realize someone else is actually in more pain and hug him. What was your approach working with them? It was also teaching the actors a new way of acting because they're not used to this kind of style.
Yeah. I love that. I love that scene too. I think I give all of the credit to the actors because we didn't talk much about the shooting process. We talked a lot about the characters. And, POV is in the script. It was imagined that way. All the images are written that way. But for an actor, like, you don't really think about how it will be captured. Yeah. And so on the day, it's like, I would like for you to look into the camera and do X, Y, and Z. And then they kind of have to drop all of the stuff they didn't talk before, be vulnerable and do their thing. And so everyone stepped up.
Well, it was a great film. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.